Welcome to another CLCI Live at 5 o'clock. Today, we're going to be speaking about a topical conversation. I guess it's relevant for the time. I'm sure most of you guys are kind of feeling that transition back into normalcy. What we are going to be discussing today is how we plan on dealing with it, if we're ready to deal with it, if we're excited to deal with it. So, with that being said, let's start with that question. How do you guys actually, let's start. Are you guys excited to get back to quote unquote normalcy? And to kind of throw in another question there, what is normalcy? Is that even something that can be defined? Is there such thing as normalcy?
I mean, I think we've gone down that road before. The normal is relative.
I think we are definitely creatures of habit. So while we've had definitely a hiccup over this last year, when I look at any atrocities that have happened, I mean, if we look at even 9/11, right, that was a huge atrocity. We're still honoring that, yet life went on. Life picked up where it left off after the initial shock wore off, after things happened. So I think whatever everyone's norm was before, I think we're going to move towards that once the shock wears off.
just to get deep fast, because this is something that I think about all the time, and I actually find some morbid comfort in it. But do you guys find that comforting or kind of terrifying that no matter how crazy anything that may be that goes on, eventually life returns to normal? Like, it may feel like the world is ending, but as long as it doesn't end, it's going to turn back. At some point we go back to what is perceived as normal. Is that a comforting thing, or is that something that unnerves you?
I think for me it's comforting because I know that we're going to get through it. We've gotten through many horrific things, and while this year was definitely trying, it wasn't a 9/11. And we had many people who passed on through the process. So then that becomes a horrible thing. We had many people go to hospital. Some people very close to me went to hospital because of it. And yet they picked up their life in whatever their normalcy was. I don't know. I think the cool thing is we definitely have learned some things. Remote, we can all operate remotely. I think that's been a fun, ironically, a fun side of this.
So
yeah, people are going to be very sad when they're going to have to go back into the office. But hopefully, most companies now realize that it's probably cheaper and better for everyone to just have people working from home.
Yep, and that hour-long meeting could have just been an email.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's true whether you're in person or online. I think we all suffer from that on occasion. But basically today we're talking essentially about that reintegration thing. That now my question: do you guys have any nerves, or does anything make you nervous, or does anything scare you about the prospect of returning to normal? Of not wearing a mask, of shaking hands, giving hugs, of having groups of larger than 10 people gather together.
More of a shaking hands and hugging people kind of guy anyway, so that doesn't really matter to me. I guess I'm worried about just having it to go back again, because if there's another, I don't know, outbreak of a different strain of COVID and the vaccinations that we currently have don't protect against it, then it's back to being quarantined.
Does that make us? I mean, that could be true of many things, though, right? Because regardless, illness exists, right? We get the flu, we get the cat. I mean, for the most part, it won't. Well, flu. But so does this make us now like hyper aware and hyper paranoid, like about? I've never been that way. Like, I'm a roll in the dirt, lick faces. Just the more you can sort of bang yourself around, and the stronger you will be. What does not kill me makes me stronger. Is kind of my philosophy. So, what?
That in short, a gross person.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. No, not exactly.
I, have a little trepidation in the process of the and thinking, just in the thinking, because in Colorado, we've had some more freedoms than you guys back in Cali haven't, longer, but to have everything open up. I mean, I've enjoyed going to a restaurant where there's been plenty of room. If I had to fly somewhere, I enjoyed not having to sit right next to someone.
Mhm.
So those things are part of what was normal. That part, I don't think I'm really looking forward to. As Anthony mentioned, I'm a hugger for sure. That really hasn't stopped, although I've asked more often for permission to give a hug than in my history. And probably that will continue, I think.
I'm very much excited to get back to normalcy, my idea of what normal is, which when I speak about normalcy, I speak about being in public around other people. That is normal to me. When I step outside, I'd like to be around other people. I don't even have to necessarily speak to anyone. Today, I went out and worked at a small coffee shop, and I had a bit of like sensory overload where I couldn't focus on work for a second because I was just so excited that I was doing what I hadn't done in well over a year. And it was just the freedom to go ahead and do so, I think was just, that's what I look forward to, is the freedom to get out and do it. Should you want to do it, that ability is something that's just great and exciting. And it does give me a bit of anxiety for sure. It does, trying to acclimate to that environment.
Is there something that when you're talking about, I see your eyes light up and your face gets very expressive. When you think about going back out, is there something that can travel with you in that emotional experience that feeds you when it becomes old hat again?
Can you rephrase that?
You're happy.
Viewers, Lisa's coaching right now.
No, I'm asking a question. Back off. When you're, right now you feel, it sounds like there's some joy, there's like some excitement.
Absolutely, yes.
Right? When this becomes old hat, when it becomes like a normal routine for you, is there something that in this beginning phase that you can travel into that phase where it's a normal thing? I mean, I don't know. Is that important?
Instilling the excitement that I'm feeling right now into future tense scenarios where it becomes something that is regular, right?
Sure.
I don't know if there will be I'd like to think that there's not going to be a future tense scenario where something is regular to me. I think the most exciting part about getting back out there is the randomness of it all. It became really cookie cutter over the course of just staying indoors and throughout quarantine. I don't know, there's a meme floating out there for anyone who's like a SpongeBob fan where it's like Squidward, there's an episode where he does the same thing over and over and over again. He wanted to do it in the beginning, kind of like how I was enjoying quarantine in the beginning, because it puts you in check, gives you time to do the things that you need to get done. But then once you get in that process and you don't really have the freedom to allow randomness into your life, then it becomes just kind of dry and dull to me. So to answer your question, I don't know that I need to really carry over this excitement. It's always, I like to be out and I like to be around other people, which invites randomness, and that's the exciting part to me.
Fantastic.
I want to say a realization I had during quarantine and lockdown. I think a lot of people did have as well, where it's you told yourself at the beginning, like, okay, I'm gonna like set all these goals. I have like more time to do these things. I'm gonna try to make the most of it. It turns out it's not that I was lacking time to do these things. I just am bad at setting goals and following through. So, and I think a lot of people realize that and just they felt like they wasted an opportunity but you can go forward, and now the problem is very aware. You have goal setting issues and you have problems following through with your goals. How can I fix
Oh, I wouldn't necessarily say it's that you have goal setting issues. It's probably that you're not very invested in the goal, or which I guess would be goal setting issue. I mean, or you know, you weren't. It's sort of like we did our first month here in January.
Well, there's a variety of reasons probably that, you know,
I guess it does boil down to goal setting issues.
aren't satisfied with the results of their quarantine resolutions. But it made it more apparent that it wasn't an external factor, it was more of a internal factor, which, you know, needs to be addressed now that I've done with the whole lockdown process and people are going out more.
So when
listen to coaching.
What is it that makes the difference between going out? Why does it need to be addressed now versus now that you're going out? Where?
Oh, it's more so I can't go into the past and tell myself at the beginning of quarantine, it's not time, it's you. I know that now, and it just so happens that, you know, stuff's opening up. So now going forward, hopefully people realize that the problem is in here. It's not out there. And if you accomplish something during, you know, lockdown, you know, congratulations. You're better than me.
With what you just mentioned, becoming aware of certain things, is there anything that we can really speak on as far as what quarantine or trying to stay away from COVID, and more so the process that we were all left with, which was quarantine? Is there anything that taught us that we can utilize now, even post quarantine? Maybe not even necessarily about ourselves, but just in general.
I think I will maintain the habit of washing my hands every time I come home. It's something I like doing. So that is a habit I will carry with me. I think though also I like Zoom rather more than phone calls now. And so it's a preference that maybe before I would have been more on the phone, but my preferences now leans towards let's have a Zoom call so we can see one another face to face. But my business has always been online, so that wasn't a big change for me. I've always been a remote worker. So, but that part I will definitely probably bring with me. I'm excited to see people's smiles again. Honestly, that's something I miss, like seeing at the store, like you know, that just seeing expressions. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm well past the point of everybody looking like a doctor or a thief is sexy.
I had to learn how to get around that, because this is where I was outside, out and about. Someone walks by. There was one that really rings true to me that I remember recently actually happened, where I had my mask on, and there was this little boy running by, and he had this cape on, and because I had my mask on, he couldn't tell I was smiling at him. So what I realized in that moment is I got to do something to let him know. Kudos.
One of my favorite things to do to kids at the store when their parents aren't looking is to make ridiculous faces at them. Like, that is one of my favorite. You can't do that with a mask.
What I learned to do is to wink, but I don't know. It's not the same as giving.
I can't wink. I just make ridiculous faces. Like, it just. I was not born with the muscles for winking. Nope, I can't do. I'm not good with that kind of silent flirting thing. It just doesn't work.
Not sexy at all. So Tom is like full forward into going out into the public. Are there things that you're going to be aware of as you go out, as you're investing your time out there?
I'm someone who's always been afraid of, well, not always, just more in the last 5 years, been kind of afraid of human beings. And so I've always, but I'm also an extrovert. I guess I like to be out and among people. And I actually, Lisa would say my light turns on when I'm around people. Because I just have this, like, this tear inside me where I like it, but I'm scared of it, but I like it, but I'm scared of it. But once I'm in it, I'm good. So I tend to gravitate towards, like, finding jobs that get me in groups of people for when reason or another. It's why I host trivia. But then at the same time, I still don't socialize. So my intention, like last night, I was cruising meetups, seeing just what's going on in the world, and seeing if anybody's actually getting in person and doing things. And my goal is to actually just put myself out there. You know, if I get uncomfortable, I get uncomfortable. What's the worst that's going to happen? Which then my brain goes, this is all the things that, do you see that pause right there was all the run of all the worst things that could happen. But I'm just going to push past it.
Here's the but. The but is you can always leave, right? So you're getting out there, you're doing things. And if it is too much, or as Jerome was saying earlier,
once I'm in it, it's fine. Like once I'm in it, I'm good. Like I am fantastic. It's a matter of getting me in it. Like that's half the battle. So, but I know there's certain areas I can start. Like there's small things I can do where I know I can start, and I know I will follow through.
So you are more small, slower steps.
I must baby steps kind of, or I could go either way. I do throw myself into the deep end quite often. So that could be fun. I'll do it organically. I mean, honestly, it's whatever happens organically.
Will you be wearing a mask? Not wearing a mask? How will you?
Well, for me, wearing a mask is always okay. Has always been more about the comfort of others than the comfort of myself. So it will remain the same, where if I'm in an environment where I am visibly making somebody uncomfortable because I'm not wearing a mask, I will happily put a mask on. If I'm in an environment where everybody is comfortable not wearing one, I'm game to not wear one. So it's for me, it's more about wanting to create an environment where others can feel comfortable as well. So
yeah.
I'm a lick faces kind of person. So that's
my sort of preferences for that sort of changed throughout how this has been going. And now that pretty much everybody is getting vaccinated, I'm more of a mask off person unless I'm required to, because again, this is my personal opinion. So if you go outside, you now know the risks of going outside. Before it was everybody's obligated to just stop the spread of COVID, but now you're not obligated to stay inside or go outside. So if you go outside, you do so at your own risk, and you can choose to wear a mask or not.
Well, and if you're vaccinated, I mean, the theory, I mean, there shouldn't be much risk because, you know, I
live alone, so I don't have to worry about family, which, you know, months prior, I did have to worry about that. So I would wear my mask, but which kind of leads us into maybe like coaching as well.
Yeah, that's what I was just wanted to bring this. So let's talk about coaching, because now as coaches, we can start to think about in-person coaching and start to think about if you want to do that. And then also even how marketing to people, groups of people, and being able to get out amongst them.
So let me just throw in there before we even go to the in-person concept. The trend, even before COVID, was to do virtual. It was exponentially growing.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that I mean, I don't think virtual should go, but I know that there are coaches out there are people out there that one of the things that really couldn't do was market yourself very much as a coach local. I mean, you could absolutely, but I think everybody was thinking very much in this digital realm. But I think that as far as marketing goes, you can start to get back to an approach that is an in-person kind of approach. And there's more opportunity too, as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My question is, Lisa, this would, I guess, go for you. Do you think coaching sessions are just generally better quality when you're in person with someone versus through Zoom? Because I'm pulling from, this is my hobby. I play Dungeons and Dragons, and playing online sucks. The vibe is not there. The energy is not there. People are more distracted, and it's harder to keep the focus. But in person, you know, it's easier to move it along and accomplish whatever goals that you have set out. So I'm wondering if that's the same for coaching as well.
I think what happens is just like anywhere, boundaries need to be set.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be coaching in person, there's still boundaries that need to be set. Just like when you're on a virtual call, boundaries need to be set. The first time I did a virtual call on Zoom was for a couple who were moving to another state. And so this was even before, I mean, this was years ago. We had been seeing each other in person for quite a while as a couples coach. And then we switched over and I never reestablished, excuse me, the boundaries with them on what that meant for them to be at home and on a Zoom call during our coaching session. And the wife got up and went and did some dishes, fed the dog. You know, I was talking with her partner, and the partner and I were having a deep conversation about something. And then, you know, how you just get in your head, oh, well, they're having a deep conversation. I'm going to go do this while they're doing that. And that needed to be established, that this is a boundary space, just like we're in the office. We stay together and we work through the situation together. We don't address anything else in the house. You know, we still need to have somebody watching the children. We still need to have the dogs. All distractions need to be monitored as best as possible.
I think too, while the being at home thing can give itself some distractions, it can also provide some benefit as well, because your client is in a space where they already feel safe and comfortable in their own home, in their own space. I think that's why teletherapy and telemedicine is probably not going to go anywhere either. And that's because you are already more inclined to open up if you're in a space that is safe and open. But again, the client has to make sure their space is a safe space that is safe and open and private. And that's something that you would probably want to discuss with your client prior to having your session, or in the first session at a minimum, I would imagine.
And I found that once we got the wiggle room figured out on how to set all that up, the coaching online was just as good, a little different, obviously, as it was in person. So I personally enjoy the in-person because I get more energy, but I was able to recreate that. Just like we took a class recently, and one of the assignments was to do a coaching session with a blindfold on. I forgot to turn my phone off, sorry. To do a coaching session with the blindfold. And the intention was, what can you pick up more when that particular sense is cut off? So as our senses have to be adjusted to what is presented, we can be equally talented with our coaching process, whether it's virtual or in person.
I mean, agree completely. As we've discussed too, a lot of the work of coaching doesn't happen in the coaching office. It happens for the client on their own, in their own space, in their own processing moments. More, I mean, what do you imagine? Do you think that there is trepidation for some new coaches or folks out there that are coaching with regard to getting back to in person? What kind of fears do you think that they may be having?
For some, it's not even getting back into person. We've had coaches who were certified, at the start of quarantine, and they've never maybe have coached people in person. Mm-hmm. It's all been virtual for them, and they're completely, they might feel unaware how coaching in person might be different because that's all they know.
Well, and so I'm just throwing this out there. I have answers myself, but what would you say would be the first steps for a coach who's been doing virtual that would like to integrate some in-person coaching?
I'd say first and foremost, you've got to make sure that you're comfortable reintegrating into society personally, yourself, before you start engaging in relationships outside of your personal space, just to ensure that you are comfortable in your own skin going out again, and that doesn't carry over into the relationship, which I mean, obviously when it comes to coaching, you want it to be as whole as possible for that to be as effective as possible. You shake your head.
Oh, no, not
Oh,
for you.
okay.
He's doing the.
I asked her if we had any viewer questions.
Oh, wait. Actually, Nicole Owlette says, oh wait, sorry, I've got two things going. It's so too much noise. Sorry guys. So Nicole Owlette said that she's watching from Florida where they've been going out all along. So not a big change for them to be into reintegrating in Florida.
Same in Colorado here is we've been going out, we've been wearing masks, however, but we have been going out and there have been restrictions.
Mhm.
It's not full force.
Not like our liberal California state.
Well,
I've seen people just going out without masks throughout the whole, time. So I don't know if California is really any better or worse, but
Sue Bowles also is here. I've got comments in two different places, by the way. She says, we only have online coaching. I have 2 local clients. But if others are feeling safer, okay, so she says that she's fully vaccinated, and so she's having to adjust to not wearing a mask again. But if others feel safer with me with a mask, she'll set aside her preferences and the benefit of others. So that would be a question. Would you wear a mask in a session?
Depending.
I think that's probably the smartest decision for being a coach. You flex to your client's comfort level and you approach them and you speak their language. And if wearing a mask is something that, makes them comfortable, makes them safe around you, I would say I would do it, even if I didn't really believe myself that it was effective or not, which I do. But, as far as meeting someone on their level, I would wear the mask.
Mm-hmm.
So you can even put on in your appointment, mask or no mask, so you can keep it simple and ambiguous as far as it not being a big deal. But your client has to not be the first person you see out there, because your comfort is equally as important if you're going to get into an in-person experience. So you've got to start getting out there and get in person with things if you haven't.
Sue Lord Haverick says, normal sounds all good. However, if you're not vaccinated, some corporations are forcing vaccinations or forcing you out.
Yeah, so that's a big controversy.
It is. Well, it's I'm working in the film industry, and I have verbatim said, if I'm producing a film, I don't want anybody working on the film that is not vaccinated, simply because I don't want to be Typhoid Mary. I just don't want to spread it. I think it's a responsible thing, and it has nothing to do with the personal preferences of others. It has nothing to do with whether or not I think it's morally right or wrong. It has strictly to do with the safety. It's a matter of safety for people I am responsible for. And so if I'm responsible for their well-being and safety, I would prefer they be vaccinated. As a producer. And I'm certain that insurance companies probably are requiring it as well, which is something that you have to address too. There's always a lot of levels here. Now, the forcing them out thing, I'm not for that. We've proven we can work remotely, right? So why not find a way to facilitate that in some regard? But maybe those corporations need some business coaches.
Corporations, please send them our way.
Yeah, tag them.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the sad thing is those mandatory direction it's a mixed bag.
Well, that's what I was talking to my neighbor, and she works for a school, and it's a medical school. And she would prefer to work remotely, and she's actually more productive here, and her commute is like an hour and a half. It's crazy. And so I was like, well then they should let you work from home. Why not? What's the problem? And she's like, well, other people have taken advantage. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem right or fair to me. That I understand blanket policy, but at the same time, if you've proven you can do not only well but better working remotely, then remain. I think it's a bad business move to not take advantage of that myself. But
I agree. I think those that thrive working remotely, I think is a great thing to keep. those that thrive off our interpersonal connections in the play, bouncing off of one another in the workplace, great. To have someone go through failure at working at home and have someone who has successfully worked at home, the person that's being challenged is the person who did it well, not the person who failed, right? So they're getting rewarded for failing, and the person who succeeded is getting penalized.
Yeah.
So that's something that definitely in the workforce is going to have its
business coaches for all workforce companies. That's what I'm saying. Business coaches for everybody, which is, I mean, it's kind of something I've been sort of saying from the start of this as well. The other flip side of the coin, though, to consider is that the fact that we're talking about working alone is what a difference, right? Because a year ago, we were talking about unemployment and not being able to work and not being able to go to work and jobs being cut. And now we're talking about, wait, things are opening up and we get to work again. So, there's always you can always look at the other side of the coin as well. And that is the fact that work is happening and more work is going to happen and it's going to continue. The economy is going to be stimulated and things are going to improve with that regard. And that is a good thing, period. I think that the economy and small business has suffered quite a bit through this. And that to me breaks my heart because that's the small business is my people's. So
I mean, business in general has suffered, and we look forward to the economy being.
So let's talk about that. So I'm going back to work. I have to go back to work. Oh my God, I got to be around people. Kyle, he's in the office two times this week in his other job. How do we deal with, how do we have clients that are doing this? They're like, oh, I got to get back to work. What can they do to help manage the anxiety that comes with reintegration? Because it is a thing.
I think that you have to accept whichever emotions you are experiencing as they are, because I think what we kind of forget through this process, it's been a long one. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I'm going to have different emotions about different things when I'm in an environment that I have not been used to being in for over a year now. So I think accepting the emotions that come with being in even scenarios that you thought you were used to, I think they're different just because you have a different perspective on those situations now, because we change over time, and a year is a long time. I'm assuming most of us have changed in many different areas over the course of the last year. So I think accepting your emotions, it's a big one, because without that, I don't know that you can really progress into a direction that really assists you in that space of potential anxiety is kind of what I'm getting here, potential trepidation, kind of like what we're speaking about, getting back to what we were doing or what you thought was normal. But again, it's a bit different because you have a different perspective and mindset on certain things.
I know. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Get a support system, right? Yeah. Get a coach, getting someone who is not going to chastise you for what you're feeling, but have the ability to be able to bounce stuff off of someone that's going to hold your heart carefully.
I know too, for me, being somebody who is socially awkward, it's a result of several things. I just have always been kind of a solo artist. I have been somebody who is very much in her head, and who I also have ADHD, and that's actually part of ADHD is feeling like you don't fit in and you don't make sense. And so I always feel awkward in my interactions. And I know there was a period where I went way too long without being in front of another human being, and I felt like every time I was talking to somebody or anything, I was babbling, because when I get nervous, I talk more. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Like if I'm quiet, it means that I'm comfortable. If I am talking your ear off, it's probably because I'm pretty uncomfortable. So I always think, okay, I look like a giant spaz, like, and that of course is going through my head, and and I would get this just you do that self-analysis thing where you wonder, okay, am I really just this socially awkward and weird and crazy, and how do I appear when I come out to people? But I just sort of I have had to, in many ways, even though it's not 100% possible, let go of that, or just assume, this is something I always tell myself, and I don't know if it'll help anybody else, that everybody else is selfish. Like, everybody is, for the most part, thinking about themselves in the same situation, and they are thinking about how awkward they are, or what they have to do next, or where they have to go, but what they're not thinking about most of the time is how weird you are. So like, you don't have to worry about that too much. It might happen on occasion, but if it does, it does. But that to me brings some relief, because I'm like, there were so many times where I had thought that, I had left this impression, and then come to find out they don't even remember, they weren't paying attention, and it very quickly taught me that I am not so capable of making impressions as I might think I am, which is actually kind of a comfort. So yeah.
You mentioned that to me, I forget, a little while back. The people are selfish and they're only thinking about themselves, and I really thought about that, and I'm like, wow, you're right. And that, honestly, that has helped. I wouldn't consider myself someone that has extreme anxiety. I always feel like I'm kind of calm and collective in most environments. But if I do find myself in a scenario where I'm getting a little anxious due to someone else's supposed impression on me, that's what I think of. I think of who cares? They're just thinking about
it helps, right? It helps. It totally helps me
much more than they're thinking about me right now.
The problem is I have to get that far, because the other half of me will just flee. Like, I just run. Like, I'm just like, forget it. I'm out. It's not worth it. I'm going home. Like, it's just because that for me is another safety net. Like, and it has nothing to do with COVID. It has nothing to do with any of this. It has entirely to do with just me being a socially awkward weirdo. So
Okay.
Do you think through COVID that thinking of yourself as socially awkward weirdo, do you think that's stayed the same, gotten bigger, smaller? What proportion is it?
It depends on what period of time in COVID, because like when I was like seriously isolated there was a period, it was probably close to 90 days, where I only interacted with people when I went to the store. And that I started to feel crazy. Like, I started to wonder if I was losing my mind at different points. The only thing that kept me sane was Zoom, was you guys, was like being able to go to class, was like, that was literally what kept me sane during those periods, because otherwise I think I would have gone bonkers. I really do. And there were plenty of times in those moments where I was like, you are batty. You've turned into that crazy recluse woman that cannot interact with people normally. What is wrong with you? But then I quickly found out, okay, that's not entirely true. Like I mean, we are we can have moments of but then we can quickly return. Luckily, we're capable of rebounding and resilience. So
the opportunity to learn more about ourselves. Did you feel like you learned more about yourself during those 90 days, and then as you
I will say I've learned a lot of what I'm capable of. Like the very fact that I can survive completely solo, and like that I'm built to do that. Like, that I am built to be without much issue. Others had a lot more issue than I did. That I can survive without any human. Like, I know people that complained about being so isolated, but they had families with them, and I'm like, you have no clue. My family is hours away. I'm not seeing that. Like, I have literally not interacted with another human being, and so it was kind of impressive that I was capable of maintaining sanity and not jumping off a bridge or something. Like, I just kept going. And I channeled it in many ways into creativity and drive, and it just kept me focused on because I don't have a TV either, which I don't know if that was better or worse. Like, I don't know if that helped or hurt. Like, it might have helped, because I think there's a lot of paranoia kicked up from watching television. So
no television. Movies, yes, but not television. Too chaotic out there. So if we're coaching someone who has been that person who stayed home and hasn't been that person who's gone out. Maybe I'm nervous. How would you coach me? What would that first question be?
Well, so wait, we're coaching you? Because I was just going to say, we could coach me. I have a thing, but
throw out some coaching questions
that you can ask somebody. I mean, well, I guess they would have to address it first with us, right? Like they would have to go, well, I'm having anxiety, going reintegrating.
go reintegrate. I like working from home and I have to go back to work. So this is a pretend scenario because I'm here.
I will give you a real one. Like I have anxiety around making friends, period. Like I just do. And I've got to tackle it. Like I have to get past it. I really do. And I know I do. I just no clue what. I guess I just rip off the Band-Aid. Like, I mean, honestly. But I'm so torn there.
That mean rip off the Band-Aid?
I mean, just dive in and just be overly social and try to, meet everybody and just get everybody's phone number and then try to keep in touch with them as best I can. Like that's half the battle is maintaining, right? When you're like, that's the thing for me, at least as I've gotten older, I have realized I'm a single woman. Making friends is harder for me because if men are married, you've got to respect that. You've got to respect that bounds. There's got to be a whole thing there. So that's kind of off limits. And then women who are married, they often are very keyed in with other women that are married and also women with kids. So I don't really make sense there. So, and it just like, it creates, I'm in this weird space of like, okay, well, who is my friend? and it's honestly, it's a weird, harder to make friends as you get older. It definitely is. And maintain them because most people already have lives and things to do and people to do them with. And I'm the awkward third wheel, like no matter what. So
asking that person or you, what does having friends get you? What is it about having friends that you find valuable?
Connection, somebody to talk to, things I can do. I enjoy activities that require other human beings, and kinship, people to share, my life with, I guess, and just do things with, honestly. I guess it's nice to know that there are people that, you can call to go just hang out with. And when you don't want to be, and it's nice to have somebody who knows you. I guess that's like the big difference there. Like there's one thing when it's a stranger, because I can go, of course, anywhere, just sit down and have a conversation with a stranger, but it's different when you're amongst people who know who you are or who know and understand you and just sort of relate with you and have similar humor and you guys like similar things, so you enjoy doing them together. Like that's there's something, that kinship that comes with that it's community, and it's very healthy. Like there's health benefits to it, and there's mental health benefits and physical health benefits to socializing. So
that's why I think, and just off topic, this not coaching, why many friendships are built through work, because there's a lot of commonality, there's a lot of interaction that's going on there, and then you get to know each other privately, and there's that community.
I guess well, yeah, I guess too, I feel like I'm lacking in something because, like I feel like everybody's got a close-knit group of friends. Everybody's got a close-knit family. And then I'm sort of have none of those things. So like, it's just me. Now, mind you, my close-knit group of friends and my family is CLCI. You guys absolutely are. But I guess it's a difference hanging out in person and doing things. Yeah.
Getting out of the house, getting out and socializing, getting out. I haven't done that. Again, not coaching here. I haven't done that either, especially with the move. But the thing I do have is the family living with me. That's my benefit. So when you think about that benefit of getting an effort, because it's effort to get to know someone, it's effort to be mindful, to connect with them, as it is for them to connect with you. When you see yourself getting out there, where do you see yourself going?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even like that's not even I don't even get that far. Like that's the whole thing too is this is going to get way too deep too fast. Like this is going to be an hour-long session if we really delve into this. Like
Not advised that you coach your friends as well.
Oh yes.
what was that?
We do not advise you
Coach friends, so it might be bad if we end up coaching you.
Yeah, no. Wait, somebody said, I get it. I've got involved in Meetup to find people with similar interests. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing is you can do is you can, and it's fun. Like I enjoy going out into these little group things and just meeting random people. What?
I don't want to do that.
Well, I mean, I used to be very much like I'm all for. I like new experiences, and I like to just go out and do them. But I've got this other side of me that has horrible anxiety, so like it's just. But that's just a matter of get to do it.
Throughout this conversation, I sort of realized that all of my closest friends that I've known for years has been because of a long extended case of Stockholm syndrome, because I was forced to be in them around the certain situations through school or when I was younger going to church. And I guess I wasn't forced to go to church, but it felt that way at the time. So yeah, I never went out to try to make friends. It just, I was forced to be around people. So I can see why it would be difficult to try to start fresh with the intention of making friends. And sometimes a lot of people, need to do that too, especially when they move to different cities or.
And it's hard to find the in many ways too. Like a lot of times finding the in can be half the battle.
With that, I think right now as it stands, this may be probably, I don't know that there's ever been a better opportunity to go out and make new friends than now, coming off of this year-long hiatus of being public, because I think adversity really, that
will you be my friend?
Adversity really,
Jerome? Jerome, will you be my friend?
I am your friend.
It's just so awkward.
What I can say is overcoming adversity really connects people. And we've all had that low-hanging fruit of overcoming that adversity of just kind of being sheltered. And again, to me, it's really not having the freedom to do things that you'd like to do, as opposed to really just being inside your house. Because again, some people are comfortable with that, but I think really where the difficulty of doing that is the loss of the ability to have, again, choice in doing certain things that you may have not, that you may have enjoyed. And I think right now we have something that we can connect with for pretty much the entire world. Most of us have kind of dealt with the same similar trauma.
So where would you go? What would you do to meet friends? Where?
You know exactly where I'm going to concerts. I love concerts.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to get back.
Amen. But they're still not happening. I mean, they're still like in like
slowly coming back. I've got a ticket.
I know I was just looking at live music. That was half of my online adventuring. Yep. So, will you be going to a haunted event this Halloween? I'm asking strictly for research basis.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. Absolutely. I love Halloween. So yeah, that's gonna happen. If obviously things are still looking up around then.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked a neighbor who we've been kind of friendly with, waving at least through this. I go, so we've been talking. We're wondering if you want to come over and get together and for dinner and get to know each other better. But how do you feel about that? Oh, in July, we're having a party. You guys can come over. Like, I just invited you over for dinner to see where that went. And he just told me about the July thing.
Oh.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
It's awkward. And putting yourself out there is not an easy thing because, we take it personal. One of the 4 agreements, don't take it personal. It has nothing to do with me. His response. It was still a friendly response, even though he skirted past if he would be comfortable coming over for dinner and having us get to know, each other. Anyway.
No, it's go ahead, Jerome.
I was going to say, I think in the space of, since here, I'll give you a little bit of payback for you giving me some advice when it comes to just really reminding yourself that everyone's kind of selfish, so they're not necessarily really focused on you as much as they are themselves.
Yeah.
I'd say that when it comes to that level of anxiety when you're out in public and potentially trying to meet new people, there are 30 more people behind that one person. So I'd say just again, I don't know, I try not to get too caught up into one particular person.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like there's plenty of fish out in the sea type deal. And I
like we're also talking about dating too.
Yeah, with relationships, yeah, exactly. I mean, they're all, kind
Friendships
of
are like relationships.
Well, they are. You have to maintain them, and they could be. Your friends can be finicky, whiny. Another reason why I'm not very good at having friends. So
I love the fact that again things are becoming public again, because when COVID was kind of warranting we stay inside, I'd have like a silly weird conversation out at the store or something, and I'd think about that for like a month and be like, wow, I should have said this or did this differently. Now I can just go out to the store, or not to the store, but somewhere.
I think too, it's also fair. Like we've probably lost touch with people through this process that were very close with us, that probably drained some of our energy and time. And the cool thing is you don't have to like hang out with those people you didn't really like again. Like, like you can just sort of let that go.
Lie about having COVID or being in quarantine, there's so many excuses to get out of uncomfortable social situations.
Yeah, there's outs now. Like, I love it.
I didn't get the vaccine. I can't go to this, event.
I'm feeling sick.
My gosh, you guys.
I think we're about out of time though on that note. Sue said, how are you feeling today? We're feeling well. Oh, well, I think with regards to how with opening up the conversation with everybody. So I think the moral of the story is just know what your boundaries are, know what you want to do, and then just go out and do it, and know that it's good for you. Know that socializing is healthy. Right. It's mental health is, it can be as detrimental to be completely isolated. It causes depression. It causes people who are lonely have higher rates of inflammation. Which can then lead to like cardiac problems. It can lead to a number of other things. And so there's way more statistics on loneliness and why it's bad. So get out and socialize, because the health benefits alone are your immune system will actually increase by virtue of being around other people. So it's a good thing to get out and be around people again.
And just be aware, one step at a time, baby step, big step, whatever your step is, just do it to where you're comfortable, and maybe push it a little bit. But when it's totally uncomfortable, you can go home. You can leave.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, so how can coaches, I wanted to get back to the marketing to people.
4 minutes.
Yeah, we've got 4 minutes left. That I think though really could be a whole live in itself.
Yes, I agree. It could be. And the thing is too, though, but how can they just get out there and get to think about where your client would be, how they're going out, where is your client reintegrating, and that's where you position yourself. Yeah.
In front of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Track them down.
Just
become your ideal client stalker.
Yeah. Talking and speaking about, Brooke was talking about different meetups. There's different meetups that you can become speakers at.
Oh yeah, there's Toastmasters, there's Chamber of Commerce, there's the holistic Chamber of Commerce, there's tons of like wellness and then also business opportunity that you can get out and actually do these in-person things. The Sue Talks that Dan just did, and that was in person and virtual. So there's absolutely opportunity. Meetups, again, I was cruising it for these reasons last night, it was for information, it was to see what was out there. There are apps, there are all kinds of things where you can sort of start to Facebook events right there. It's a good place to start.
There's the bar where there's all types of walks of life.
Well, the bar is a whole other thing. That's half the battle right there. So you're not.
I don't think that's a good place to meet.
I'd say no.
Final thoughts, Anthony?
Go out there, meet new people, be safe. If you feel anxious about going out, take baby steps. Identify what you value about going out, what you value about meeting new people, and then focus on that as your goal rather than just saying meeting people. Meeting people, why? Figuring out that why will, help you to going out more or propel you towards that goal.
Mm-hmm. Or, well, if not why, what's the intention or what? Yeah, well, just why. So, yes, agreed.
They are selfish reasons. They're selfish reasons that you should be aware of. Selfish is a good thing.
Selfish is not a bad thing. Mm-mm.
Selfish, I need to have connection. I know that flourishes me. I need to find some more of my people. The cool thing is we have classes and our people are there. We find our people there, but there's our people, whoever your people are, in all aspects of getting out there, meeting them, and having a conversation. Invite them over for dinner, even if they kind of diss you on it.
Well, they invited you to dinner too, so it's
2 months away.
But that's the thing. Being selfish is not a bad thing. It's we would not be alive as a species if we were not selfish. So we would be no more if we were all completely unselfish human beings. So being selfish is quite important, of course, within reason, but there's an argument there as well, but we'll leave that as it is. Thank you guys out there for watching, and good luck reintegrating into society, socializing, meeting people. Hopefully you do better at it than I do. And make sure you check out my cat. Maybe you check out Certified Life Coach Institute. We certify coaches in 3 days.